BRUCAST is back, baby.
This BRUCAST episode is brought to you by the BRUCAST Store. Explore a store filled with awesome goodies from hoodies to t-shirts to mugs. We've got you covered. Stay in style with BRUCAST. Embrace the shock, set the trend. Visit now brew-cast.com/store. Link below.
Back with the fire, can't you see the flames? From Deutschland steps comes the BRUCAST name. Voices like thunder breaking all the chains. Unleash the fury like a runaway train.
Alright, hi everyone, welcome back to another BRUCAST episode. If it's your first time watching the show, make sure to like and subscribe. If you're listening to Spotify or Apple Podcasts, please ring the show 5 stars. This will ensure that the podcast recommends to even more people and allow me to keep doing what I love. BRUCAST also on Instagram, X, and TikTok, where I upload shorts with the highlights of the show. So follow now, BRUCAST on Instagram, X, and TikTok. Links in the description below.
Back here we thrive, we survive.
Alright, hi there BRUCAST fans, welcome back. If you haven't subscribed yet, make sure to subscribe, like, and leave a comment to participate in this month's giveaway. Yeah, it's happening this month. At the end of the month, we're going to announce the winner, and the winner is going to win something from the BRUCAST store. It's a mystery. We don't know yet. But again, all you have to do in order to participate is to like, comment, and subscribe. Good luck to everyone, and let's see who wins. Our guest today is Julian Bermudez. How are you doing, Julian?
Hey, bro. Thanks for having me. Very happy to be here with you.
I'm honored to have you here, man. It's a pleasure. I'm very curious to learn more about you, about what you do. So what about you start by introducing yourself?
Well, my name's Julian, and yeah, I'm just a regular guy who grew up with a lot of pain and tried to figure out what to do with that. And so, yeah, throughout my years, I was really trying to figure out how to transform my pain and figure out a way to kind of enjoy life, I guess, would be the easiest way to say it, to not want to be taken out of my misery. And the more and more that I followed that path of trying to take responsibility for my own life and cultivate agency, the more I was actually able to, begin to enjoy life. And the more I did that, the more I was able to help other people do that as well. And that's how I got where I'm at now.
Wow, that's a noble goal, man. And just for context, where you are right now, it's not Japan, even though it kind of looks like it. It looks very nice. You have the kimono going on and the wooden stuff. It looks very cool.
Yeah, I think you're the first person to notice where the inspiration comes from.
Oh, it is Japan, for real.
Yeah, the clothes I'm wearing this is a jinbei, which is from Japan. A friend gave this to me, so these are my go-to clothes at this point.
Hell yeah, man, it fits you. Looks nice.
Thank you.
Have you been to Japan?
No, I haven't. But I do have some really good friends who are from Japan, and I've been very inspired by the language and culture as well.
All right, yeah. I before we started, I mentioned that I'm in Germany, right? Before moving to Germany, my first goal, the first place that I wanted to go was Japan, and I had everything planned. I had like tickets. I had bought the tickets. I had like a place to stay. I had like colleagues over there. And then just that, I was like 15, 16 at the time. And just then I decided to research about the culture. I was like, they like anime, they like sushi. I'm fine. No, turns out the workforce, especially at the company that I wanted to work at, was racist. It's like, fuck. And I was like, I'm not going to Japan. It was like, at least that's what I heard. But there's plenty of other good things from there. Like,
Yeah, the workplace is tough, but the culture is fantastic in lots of other areas. But they're dealing with a lot of difficulties right now with tourism and migration, just like the vast majority of places are.
Really? What's happening there? I heard that they're trying to ban TikTokers and influencers because they're going there just to get some clout,
Yeah, well, in Japan, the culture is based on consideration of other people. So there's a lot of unspoken rules of etiquette and taking other people into account with what you're doing. And so a couple years ago, they opened up their borders and started putting a lot of incentives to have people come migrate into the country. They have these akiyas, is what they call them, these old countryside houses that are dilapidated or abandoned, and so they were trying to bring in revenue by bringing in a lot of foreigners. And of course, that brought in a lot of new culture as well. And so, yeah, you have these influencers who are like bringing big speakers onto the subway and break dancing in the middle of the streets or on the platforms, and that's that goes in counterintuitive to a lot of their culture and customs.
Yeah, yeah, that's insane. Imagine you go to a country that it's not yours, you're a foreigner, and you just respect their culture to a point like where they're literally thinking about banning some type of tourists in certain places. It's insane. Like,
It's going on all over the place right now.
really?
Yeah, yeah. The hottest thing I've been seeing is, I mean, here in the States, we've got a lot of that. We have a lot of migrants that are rioting, and a lot of people who are destroying a lot of things in the name of migrants. And then, you know, in Mexico City right now, there's big protests going on as well, where, I mean, they're very openly saying, go back to where you came from, go back to your country, because there's been so many Americans that have moved down to Mexico City and they work remotely. So they bring their high paying wages and they gentrify the areas. You know, you get these rich people who move into the neighborhood, and they come in with their money, they come in with their incomes, they jack the prices of everything up, they're jacking the prices of the rents up, everything that they're buying, and so you get pushed out of your own neighborhood. And so, yeah, this is a theme that's going on all over the place.
Whoa. I didn't know that. Whoa. I always heard like the Americans been pissed at the Mexicans, but not the other way around. That's a first.
Yeah, yeah, it seems to be going all over. Like I see this a lot in European countries too. Like in Ireland, for instance, you know, entire rural villages are getting overrun by these open border migrant policies. And, you know, I'm not saying I'm in favor or against it, because, well, that's not true. I think I've revealed my opinion already. But yeah, yeah, it's causing a lot of problems for a lot of people right now. This idea that when things are getting rough where you're at, that you can go somewhere else and consume resources there, is really causing a lot of problems for a lot of people.
Do you think there's a single reason for that to be happening in a global level?
Well, a lot of these places are becoming inhospitable.
Oh,
Like in the States, for instance, a lot of these cities are becoming unlivable. They've become just so big and so industrial and so expensive. And, you know, the infrastructure here is just crumbling in so many ways. Like, I think we're watching in real time our society just kind of implode or collapse on top of itself. And so a lot of people are unhappy with the living conditions, and so they're going to other places. And we very frequently hear like people leaving, you know, Latin American countries like Venezuela or El Salvador and coming to the United States. But you also have great migration leaving the United States. And, you know, it's very difficult to even stay in a place for too long without seeing, you know, massive turnover of everybody who's there. So many people leaving, so many people coming, and everything's just changing so quickly.
yeah, yeah. I got tired of it, right? So I'm 31 and I'm about to turn 32. My whole life has been pretty hectic. That's how you say it, hectic. I don't know. My mom married this guy in France, then we moved to France, but then they divorced, and I went back to Brazil, and then I was like, I got graduated as like I don't want to live in Brazil, so I went back to France, and then got a job in Germany. It's like all over the place, and when I reached my 30s, I was like, I can't do this anymore.
Yeah.
It's just too much. And all throughout this whole time, I was living in the big capitals, right? Sao Paulo, and then Paris, and then Berlin, and I reached a point where I was like, I just can't do it anymore. It's just too much. It's just too crazy. It's like, and then I decided for my own mental health, for my own sake, that I'm gonna live in a small town,
Hmm.
and in the country that I am already am, so Germany, and that's it. Man, it saved my life. I'm not exaggerating. It's just like by forcing myself, stop changing jobs, stop moving around.
Hmm.
It took a while to adapt, like to force myself to do it, but I'm feeling like the rewards of it. You know, I'm start feeling a little bit calmer. My life starts to, I'm like, how to say in English, like planting some roots, and this feels good. We need that. I feel like we as humans, we need that. We need to our brains are not developed to always constantly change, all the time. That's why
Yeah.
nostalgia sells so much. That's why it feels so good to keep watching the same movies and stuff, because like I would say that throughout most of human history, like we do not had internet, we don't had like this fast pacing technology changing all the time. We're not built for it. And I'm totally going on a rant here. I don't even know where I'm going with this, but yeah. um,
You got something really important there, bro, which is these roots
yeah.
and people not having roots anymore.
Oh.
For the vast majority of time, we were deeply connected to the land, to the space that we were in, and we might migrate, but we were very connected to the land and to our community, meaning that we were connected to each other. And of course, we were in tune with who we were as humans. And all of that has been severed right now. And we are completely disconnected from ourselves. We're disconnected from each other. We're disconnected from the world, and we're disconnected from what we do. So everybody's experiencing this incredible sense of pain, it seems like. And there's this idea that if you change things around you, you can address that pain inside of you. If you change your location, if you change your house, if you change your car, if you change your friends, whatever, then you can have the peace that you're looking for. And I think that's very far from the truth. And that's been something I've pursued myself. And yeah, I've never found comfort or soothing in changing things around me. It might help for a little bit, but it's short-term relief.
Yeah, yeah, but I think it's something that you need to learn, right? Because it's kind of instinctively, it's like it's part of your instincts to just, it's not working out, just change. It's not me, it's the external factors. I had this friend, a buddy of mine, who everything was going wrong in his life. I think he got a divorce, something like that, or lost his job. I can't remember anymore. You know what he did? He got in a boat. He got a sailboat with like a sailor. He didn't know the sailor, and he just went sailing I think he did not know for how long he wanted to sail. He just went sail. That's my life now. I'm a sailor, and his goal was to do exactly that. Like try to fix whatever was happening internally by changing the external factors. And he told me, Bruno, like it doesn't work. it's it's not worth it. Yeah.
Yeah. There's no way to, like you just said, address the internal pain that you're going through by changing external factors. And one of the most common things that we do in our current society with our internal pain is we try to distract ourselves with external things to stay away from that pain. But that only prolongs it, and it just exacerbates it. And until we turn our attention back into that pain and process it and soothe it and express it and heal this pain, everything in our life is going to keep taking the exact same shapes of what caused that pain. It's going to keep coming back around for us to address it. So changing the circumstances, changing the places, we'll find that exact same pain.
Is that somehow related to the pain that you suffered in your life? At the beginning of during your introduction, you said that some unfortunate circumstances happened, and this actually helped you later in life, right? Because you're now helping other people.
I mean, yeah, it was a great path for me to walk. It was very worthwhile. I wouldn't wish it upon anybody, and I certainly wouldn't want to do it again. Um, that's for sure. But I often hear people talk when they talk to me, and I worked in the healthcare industry for almost 7 years, and I just saw how broken this system is, and how disconnected this system is, and how it doesn't actually provide any real help or support for the vast majority of people. And so a lot of people tell me like their doctor or their therapist can't actually understand them. And there's so many reasons for why that is. Um, yeah. And so the what I'm getting at here is I almost lost my train of thought there is, going through that pain, having that suffering and hardship really allowed me to understand what other people are going through as well. And walking that path of trying to heal it and to transform it myself really allows me to help other people find that exact same path. It's where I think the vast majority of therapists and doctors come from I'm not saying that they didn't endure hardships and difficulties to get there, but most of the times, my friends and colleagues who are therapists can't even hear what I'm saying, let alone understand what I'm talking about. If I were to ever explain something about my childhood, it's just a completely different world from what they grew up in.
But I mean, isn't that the whole point of therapy? Like,
Yeah.
they try to understand and have some empathy for what you went through and try to make you grow out of it. I mean, that's literally their job. When you say like they don't understand, I'm what I hear is like they're just incapable of doing their jobs, and this sounds a little bit harsh.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that that's fairly accurate way of putting it. I think the essence of therapy is to help people to reconnect with themselves.
Hmm.
And there's so many reasons why we're disconnected from ourselves, but the idea, the fundamental premise of therapy is to help the person connect with themselves. And the vast majority of doctors and therapists are disconnected from themselves to begin with. They get into this role because they're in pain themselves and they're trying to fulfill some early pain, whether it's to be good enough, to be important, to be valued, to be respected, to heal the people who hurt them, whatever it is. And I'm no exception from this. This is exactly why I got into it as well. But if the therapist or doctor isn't doing their own personal work to reconnect with themselves, how can they ever do it with somebody else? And I think that's why so many people say their therapist doesn't understand them or their therapist can't help them.
So, in your opinion, only people who are connected with themselves can help other people connect with themselves.
That's the essence of therapy. Yeah.
All right. So, how would you define someone who is connected with themselves then?
hmm Well, let's start with how you get disconnected, and then
All
that'll
right.
show us how you can be connected. How about that?
Yeah, yeah, let's do it.
So we get disconnected from so many ways, but this disconnection itself is like the hallmark stamp of trauma. It is like the number one outcome of traumatic experiences. And so what happens is especially in our formative early childhood years, is we go through pain. Bad things happen that shouldn't happen, or good things that are supposed to happen don't happen. And we don't have the resources to navigate that pain. So what we end up doing is we disconnect from it. We learn at some point early in our lives that having this pain is threatening in some way. Expressing emotions can be threatening or dangerous for us. We get told, if you're going to be angry, I'll give you something to be angry about. Or if you're going to cry, I'll give you something to cry about. Or if you're going to express anger, I'm going to disconnect you from your community or from your caregivers. You're going to get a timeout until you can learn to suppress that emotion, and then you can come back and be accepted and get the thing that you're most dependent on, your attachments. So we learn very early that having emotions is bad or dangerous. And so we disconnect from them. We stuff them down, we suppress them, and then we adapt to it in various ways. And we try to be people pleasers. We try to be agreeable. We try to make other people happy. We try to be grandiose and big and assertive to get our way before other people can hurt us. These are all signs of the disconnection. The signs of being connected would be what I would call authenticity, meaning we're aware, we can recognize and identify what we're feeling. So I can identify when I'm scared or when I'm angry or when I'm in pain, and I can express it in ways that are constructive with who I am as an individual. So I'm not going to people please, or I'm not going to get angry at somebody because they hurt me in some way. I'm going to be able to express boundaries and emotions in authentic and true ways to who I am.
All right. So, if understood correctly, you are disconnected due to childhood traumas, and you you know that you're connected because you're being authentic and you're setting boundaries. Did I got
Yeah,
this correctly? Okay.
yeah, that's a very good start to it. Yeah.
All right, man. That's so interesting. How did you got so interested? Like, how did you develop this knowledge to begin with? Because I feel like a lot of people, they're probably disconnected, but they like they have no clue what they are. Like, if they are disconnected, they don't even recognize it. and I don't feel like there's a clear path on how to get connected versus like it's not something. My point is that's not something you learn in school. That's not
You're
something
absolutely
that
right, bro.
I've done therapy, right? That
Hmm.
like if that's not something that they talk about in therapy, at least not as clear as we're talking about here.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting because the path is very clear
Oh,
and the path is absolutely laid out and it's been talked about for thousands of years. You can go back to Christ or the Buddha, and they've been talking about this exact same path. The Buddha was a fantastic therapist and psychologist before these fields came around. Um, it's really well documented in terms of the medical literature today. And you're absolutely right. We didn't talk about this in university. That's for sure. Um, yeah, when I was studying addiction psychology, clinical psychology, none of these were talked about. Nobody was ever talking about this. It was so diluted and convoluted with all of the medical jargon and all of these research studies that are very far disconnected. So it's not that the research doesn't exist. It's not that the information doesn't exist. It's that we don't use it. And the vast
mm,
majority of therapists and doctors never ever look at these very simple things. Not only does a doctor never learn how to connect with people on a real human level, but they don't have the time or capacity to do so. Here in the States, if you go see a doctor, you got 15 minutes and they're going to see 40, 50 people in a day. They're going to look at your chart for 10, 20 seconds before they walk in. They're going to ask you a bunch of questions that they have to ask you, mandated by the state or by the federal government. And that's going to take up the whole 15 minutes. They can't ask you about your childhood. They can't ask you, what do you do with your pain? They can't ask you about your relationship with your parents. They can't ask you about what you do with emotions and how you navigate stress. All of this is off the table. So what ends up happening is they end up just prescribing medications. Like 75% of American adults are on at least one medication. And depending on what stats you get, um, over 50% of children are on a medication. They're medicated as well. So right now, the way healthcare is working is we don't help people reconnect to themselves. We give them more tools to stay disconnected, and we medicate people far too quickly, far too often, and for far too long a period of time. That's supposed to be just a bridge to help people stabilize, to really start to reconnect with themselves, to learn how to recognize and identify their pain and start to build the skills and tools to process it. But very frequently that is not the first line of defense or the middle line of defense. It's the absolute last line. It's the first and last. So the doctor prescribes it and then that's the end. There's no circling back around to actually address the pain. So yeah, no matter where you look, it's not very common today.
wow. Over 75% of adults are in some type of education. That's insane.
Yeah.
Like, I like from an external perspective, it just looks like the country is sick. Everyone's sick.
Everyone is sick over here right now.
Oh my god.
You see it everywhere you look. Now I'm in Portland, which, I don't know, if you're listening, you probably have some view of what cities like Portland or San Francisco are like. And I got to say, a lot of it's probably true. When I'm just walking around right now, the sickness is so apparent. It's everywhere. It's with every single person that I look at. The disconnection is getting so deep and so strong right now, and people are looking for this external way to solve it. And that's where you see these really intensities, these really intense social conditions of people interacting with each other. This is where all of this turmoil is coming from, is from this internal pain. It's an external expression of internal pain, and it's getting so prolific right now.
Could you give it as examples? Like people shouting at each other would be one of them.
I mean, that's fairly passive, if you ask
Mm,
me. I mean, right now people are, the conflicts are so intense.
okay.
There,
Yeah.
there's so intense right now. You just look at any of the media that's coming from the United States, and it is so intense. People can't even have a conversation with one another anymore because the anger and the pain that's inside of them is so great that they will find a way to see that pain and anger in you and to justify their pain and anger by something that you're doing or saying, and then they will push that anger onto you, which is exacerbating the disconnections in general.
Yeah, yeah. Wow, man, that's so revealing. Um, a buddy of mine who study psychology once told me that you can you can recognize trauma by people who are obsessed or literally acting on the extreme, similarly to what you said. Like, I won't give any examples here, but I know people in my life who is like all or nothing, like when they like something, they go 100% into it and block all views. They don't do anything else and they just do that thing and they don't take care of themselves. Like, basically going into the extreme. Like, accordingly to this friend of mine, well, there's a unresolved trauma in there. Like, I guess in your words, this would be a disconnection with themselves. Yeah.
Yeah, the word addiction is fairly new. Um, it didn't become like a solid term until the last 100 years. And for most of its history, it was just referring to somebody who was passionate about something that they did. It wasn't until our modern society where the term addiction really became a negative connotation because it was really consuming people. And the addiction itself is always an attempt to solve an underlying pain. There's a wisdom, there's an inherent safety defense mechanism that's built into an addiction. So going all into something, there's a form of adaptation that's inside of this. It's I have this pain that's inside of me. I don't know what to do with it. So I do lots of things to stay away from it. And whatever it is that we go all into, whether it's behaviors or substances, each one of these provides a short-term relief from that internal pain that we have.
Oh man, I'm so happy that we're doing that again. I'm gonna sound like a how to say it, scratch disc, but I don't know why we don't learn those things on school. It sounds so important, like
So important.
yeah, it's like how to be human, how to live in today's society. Like, I don't remember learning that. I mean, it was like 20, 25 years ago. I think it was not that different, I would say. But I kind of know what you're saying. Like, we as society, I would say, like, we as a humanity, like, humans are a new thing. I was talking to GPT the other day, and I asked him, like, if the whole history of Earth is like 100%, right? That's the whole time that the Earth existed in the universe. How long have humans existed within this 100%? You know how much? 0.004%.
Yeah, it's a
That's
physical impossibility.
We are just babies, like not even babies, embryos of the universe.
Yeah, that's right. Our time here is very small.
Yeah, yeah. Um, so Julian, I need to ask you: have addiction manifested in your life before, and how have you dealt with it?
Absolutely. I don't think I've ever met a person who wasn't addicted to something in one form or another.
Mm,
I've met lots of people who tell me they don't have addictions, and maybe that's true, maybe it's not. But when I lay out the definition for it, if you're listening to it and you're saying, I don't have an addiction, well, here, I'll give you the definition and you tell me. An addiction is any behavior that provides short-term relief. So there's a craving of it. There's an inability to give it up. Short-term relief, but has long-term consequences. And despite those consequences, there's this inability to give it up. So there's relapses. You can't stop doing this thing. Short-term relief, long-term consequences. It can be to the internet. It can be to social media. It can be to high adrenaline activities. It could be to relationships. It can be to sex. It can be to your work. It can be to any type of thing that'll give you a short-term relief. It can, of course, be to substances. It can be to opioids. It can be to alcohol. It can be to amphetamines. It can be to food, all sorts of things that take you away from this present moment. And of course, that manifests in my life too. When a memory of pain comes up into my life, something that I haven't fully processed, and I get really uncomfortable, it's almost like my phone has some sort of gravitational pull. And next thing I know, I'm looking at silly videos on YouTube.
Oh man, it's
Yeah,
it's a pull. It's a magnetic pull.
definitely. And if I don't have a tremendous amount of awareness and the conviction to say no, to cultivate choice and say, no, I'm not going to distract myself right now. And instead, this pain is here for a reason. I'm going to work with it right now, which can be very difficult. If I don't do that, then I just sink into the couch and I just find myself watching silly things on YouTube for who knows how long. And then the day passes by and, it's like a time warp. I just get sucked right into it. So, I mean, that's one of them right there is the phone. That's strong. And I'm somebody who my phone's always on do not disturb mode. And it is always pushed far away from me. But I'll tell you, that thing will find its way back into my hand very quickly.
Yeah, I also struggle with social media, man. It's designed to be addicted, right?
It
Uh,
is designed for
Yeah,
it. Yeah.
yeah. We had a guest here the other day, and she said, "But you just buy those boxes, like you can, you just put it inside of the plastic box, and then put a code in on the thing, and you cannot use it." Yeah, but I know. My brain, it does so many mental gymnastics, but what if someone important call me? What if I need to activate my fan because everything is like automated? And I was like, I have so much stuff going on my phone. I kind of resent myself a little bit for it. I
Yeah.
I miss the iPod days when you could just listen to music. There was
Mhm.
no one messaging you, no one sending you cat videos, and like you would not let get lost on Instagram while listening to music. I'm not joking. I feel like it reached a point of convergence in this one device that's just not healthy. Not like I don't know how this is gonna keep progressing. Like I know you can even open your car nowadays, Tesla cars with the iPhone. Like you can also basically you can. I feel like the Apple Go is to make everyone do everything with their iPhone.
Yeah.
I don't feel
Yeah.
like that's healthy.
Yeah. Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. They're designed. They have some incredible psychologists and neuroscientists working behind the programming here to make these apps and these programs and these
Yeah.
devices as addictive as possible. And when you talk about your rationalization of why you need to use your phone, I mean, that's exactly the pathology of an addiction right there. When you listen to somebody talk about the substance of their choice, the thing that they really like, you'll hear this justification and this rationalization on why they need to do it. And then you'll see the conflict there, the really harshness, the shame of beating myself up for wanting to do this or for doing it. So again, you just see all this inner turmoil really easily with the addiction. You can see the pain right underneath it. And so you can take the phone and you can put it in the box, but that doesn't take away the pain. That doesn't process the pain or soothe it. So you can take somebody who's addicted to alcohol and you can get them off of alcohol. Great. Fantastic. That's a great first start. But if you don't address that pain that's underneath it, that addiction's purpose is still there. It's still going to manifest in some way. So we have to address the reason why the addiction's there in the first place.
Oh, interesting. So even though you're managing one addiction, do you believe that like this problem that you have like in the first place might manifest itself as another addiction?
Absolutely. There's so many ways that these will come up. And so, I mean, everybody has their drug of choice,
Mm,
so to speak. It's the one that that we like the most. And that one, whatever it is, will be the most likely one that we'll relapse into. But again, if you get rid of the phone, then you might put your attention into work, or you might put your attention into relationships, or you might put your attention into anything else, something that will give you a distraction or disconnect, providing that temporary relief.
the funny thing about work though is that I feel our society kind of incentivizes us to work more, right?
Yes.
Oh my God, he's working late today. He's so I don't know, full of energy. He's trying to secure himself a good future. Even Elon Musk. I don't think Elon Musk is a good example here, but. He would say, yeah, you need to dedicate your life towards work. You need to sleep on at the office, and that's how quote unquote you get shit done and you become a quote unquote successful person in our world. So okay, you might become successful like what's the definition of success then? A bunch of money in your bank account?
Yeah. Yeah, you're absolutely right, Broom. When, yeah. When we're talking about how your phones are designed to be as addictive as possible, our society has so many aspects built into this that are just designed to disconnect you, to keep you in this repetitive loop. And yeah, here's another one. You can be addicted to work, and you can sacrifice yourself, you can sacrifice your health, you can sacrifice your life, you can sacrifice your family.
Mm.
You can always be out there in the pursuit of status and power and wealth. And if you never once feel good enough, if you weren't good enough as a child for your parents, you had to work for the relationship, there were expectations, judgments, criticism, punishment, so on, and you never once felt that sense of being accepted and valued just as you are, well, by God, you can go out into the world and you can work, and you can go be a doctor, and people are going to need you, and they're going to respect you, and they're going to value you as long as you keep showing up. But as soon as you stop showing up to work, all of that value, all of that respect, all of that status goes away. And what are you left with? That underlying pain that started it to begin with. So yeah, there's so many aspects in our society that just value and seduce you into these addictions. I mean, there's entire sectors of the economy that are based on this exact premise of not being good enough. If you're not good enough, you go to work. If you're not good enough, then you just buy this product and then you'll be good enough. And we have
Yeah.
multi-trillion-dollar industries that are based on this.
Yeah, just buy this product and you'll be happy. Just buy this new car, just buy this new phone, just buy this new house, and then you're
Exactly.
gonna be happy. It's like the what's called a red hate. It's capitalism, baby. It sucks. Yeah. So what would be so that's society, Joe. We cannot change society. So I guess the solution change ourselves and our views towards
You can
society.
change society. You can change society, and everybody does in some way or another.
All right.
And you're absolutely right on what you just said there, which is the way to do it is Judeo Krishnamurti said this, and a lot of spiritual teachers say this: when you change yourself, when you focus inward and you transform your own pain. I'm adding that. That's not a part of it, but the part is when you change yourself, that society changes naturally and inevitably. When we as individuals start to take care of our own pain and we start to transform our own inner world, society will naturally and inevitably change.
What would be the best way of doing that? Because you mentioned doctors and therapists might not necessarily be the best way of doing it.
Yeah. There's nobody coming to rescue you. There's nobody coming to save you. We have these are the ideas in our culture that there's always some savior, there's some hero, there's some god that's going to come and rescue you, whether it's the aliens or it's the deities. Somebody's coming to save you.
Yes, the aliens. I believe on. Yeah. Okay. Um.
That's not the case. There's nobody coming to rescue you. There's nobody who's going to come and save you. There's nobody who's going to come and fix this mess for you. The only person who can do that is yourself. You have to become your own hero. You have to answer the call to focus on your own pain, and you have to clean up your own house. You know, one of my teachers says that we are not responsible for the world that shaped our minds, right? When we're growing up, when we're developing, our minds, the way that we see the world, the way that we think about things, it develops in relationship to the environment that we're in. So when we're born into that environment, we have no responsibility of that environment, and it shapes the people that we become. But as we become adults, we are responsible for the minds that we have that are shaping the world, because society is made by people. It's made by humans and hands, as far as I know, and we're all contributing to it one way or another. So when we're stuck in that consumerism and we're in all these addictions and we're distracting, we're buying into those industries. When we're going to work and we're spending our whole lives, sacrificing our children, everything for the name of being important to other people, to accumulate status and wealth and power and prestige so that way we can be protected and safe, we're contributing to all of that. So if we could turn our attention inward and start to process this pain that we're in, this underlying sense of not being good enough, not being worthy, not being accepted, and we can start to do that ourselves, then all of these structures and systems will start to change. But I'm not very optimistic about it, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, because I think even then, like it's hard to say stop consuming, stop. Like I feel like there must be a balance, right? I would just won't stop using my phone altogether from like in one day, or stop like buying games and enjoy myself. I would you say like there must be a health balance, or it's better to abyssinate. That's how you say it.
Sure, sure. I get what
Yeah.
you're saying. Yeah, I mean, the idea that we could make the immediate change just like that and cut it off cold turkey and everything's different, that's not how it works at all. It's a gradual practice, and
Mm.
we're changing the input for the next generations. So we came in with a very specific input of what the environment was, and the more that we make subtle changes as we change things for the next generation. Don't get me wrong, exponential change can happen, and it can happen very quickly. But that's not the long game here. Is we're constantly making consistent subtle changes throughout all of this, and it's a continuous practice of taking accountability and responsibility for your life, where that pain that is underlying the addiction has to continuously be addressed, and we have to continuously work with it, and it's going to be a lifelong process.
Oh man, you just touched on accountability. I can't believe it. I feel like no one wants to take accountability nowadays because it requires maturity, right? Emotional maturity. And I just read the other day, like now officially the brain is only considered like an adult brain at 30. Before it was 25, now it's 30. Like we're all teenagers until we're 30. What? It's like I didn't know. I didn't have to read that to know it. Like you just see it throughout society. How
Yeah,
many adults just again don't take accountability? It's
yeah,
just looks like the norm, and it's growing over time, and people don't want to change. Like if you try to imply that they would be better to maybe mature a little bit, to look at themselves first, like people don't take that well. What do you have? What do you say about that?
I agree with you
Yeah.
completely. Taking accountability, taking responsibility for our lives is very challenging. um, there's so many messages out there that are in conflict with that idea. It's so easy. There's this old saying, I went to the doctor and I was telling them about all of my problems. So they started writing prescription, and they said, this one's for your mother-in-law, this one's for your father-in-law, this one's for your boss.
Oh, what?
Right? Yeah, because those are the reasons why I'm in all this pain and suffering. It's all these other people's fault.
All right.
Yeah, there's that is very common in our society. Is the reason why things are a mess is it's somebody else's fault, and they
Yeah.
should be the ones to change it. It's the politicians, it's the government, it's the structure, it's my family, it's my coworkers, it's my boss. It's always somebody out there.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very difficult to turn our attention inward and to take responsibility for our own pain. See, when I look back to my initial pain, is my family were the biggest components of me developing that pain. And when I look at who does the things that were done to me, what kind of parent does those things? Well, the only answer that I could ever come up with was, well, somebody who's in terrible pain themselves. They learned those dynamics from somewhere, and it was from their parents. So this idea of connection, of connecting with your children, raising your children, is based in pain and abuse. And the pain and abuse is mistaken for connection and compassion. Very frequently, you hear, I'm doing this because I love you, or this hurts me more than it hurts you, when a parent or somebody's abusing their kid or whoever. Those are the very common phrases. So it's very easy to mistake the connection, compassion, attachment for abuse. And so that pain that was handed to us has traveled through all the generations, and it ended with us. And we could say it's my parents' fault. I'm blaming them. I'm blaming my grandparents. I'm blaming society. But that doesn't change anything. And in fact, that pain that's inside of us is going to flow through us onto the next generation or onto other people. So it is absolutely our duty to take responsibility for this pain and to start to transform it so it doesn't continue to flow through us and pass on to other people.
Yeah, it's generational trauma. Tucker Carlson once said that he wished everyone would have kids as soon as they could, something along those lines, because then they would learn to, well, be accountable and mature and do whatever they could and like grow up basically. Would you agree with that? Because I
No,
mean, no?
no, completely disagree. One of the most common things that happen in our child parent relationships today is that the child has to take on their parents' emotional needs.
Mm,
The roles get reversed, and the child has to become the parent for their parents. They have to take care of their parents. So if you're very young as a parent and you have all of these unprocessed pains inside of you, if you've never learned to recognize and identify your emotions, if you can't accept the pain that you're in, if you're not able to get curious and understand where this comes from, and then you can't take accountability for it and make choices on how you're going to process or soothe or nurture that pain, then your kids are going to come along and they're going to be responsible for all that pain that you're in. And this is just continuing that exact same cycle. I think that right now, what really needs to happen is people need to start to take care of themselves before they start having other people involved in this situation. Same thing with relationships. You can't have your partner be your parents. We need to learn how to do that ourselves.
yeah. I think like a great analogy that I once heard for it is when you go to the when you fly, right, with an airplane, you always read you have those little
Yeah. Secure your mask.
secure mask. Like first you secure your own mask before putting your kids. Like the other way around doesn't work. How are you gonna like if you pass out, who is gonna take care of your kid?
Precisely. I
Yeah.
use that exact analogy, and I hear
Yeah.
a lot of people do that too. It's exactly right. Yeah, and you know, the people who are oftentimes carrying a lot of pain themselves, a lot, they're the people who oftentimes go into the caregiver roles. They become nurses, they become doctors, they become therapists because we want to go and help everybody else solve their own pain. But again, we're not taking care of ourselves. We're not transforming our own pain. We're not working with it. So we can't, that's coming back to why my therapist can't understand me is because they're not transforming their own pain. They're not working with it. They're just using helping others as another distraction to get away from it.
Yeah. So, Julian, I know you're psychedelic therapist. So, do drugs help us through that process? And if yes, which ones? All of them,
Yeah.
or not? I don't know.
The answer's not out there.
Not okay.
It's not outside of you. The answer is always inside it. So I use the term psychedelic here very intentionally in the sense that what's the word psychedelic is referring to is a deep connection to yourself. Psyche referring to it's the psyche is often terms referred to as like the soul, the human mind, a little bit more crudely. Your emotions, all of the immaterial aspects of who you are. The human spirit is probably the most accurate definition of the psyche that I've heard. And then delic is manifesting, emerging, arising. So you have the human spirit manifesting, arising. So it's always an experience where you connect very deeply to yourself. So I use that because my fundamental belief in this therapy is all the wisdom of how to heal and how to be whole, it's inside of you and it's inside of me. And the only way that we can heal as individuals is to reconnect with that. And so this experience of reconnecting with yourself, this psychedelic experience, in my opinion, is like the foundation. It's the baseline for healing to take place. So it's an experience where people reconnect with all that wisdom that knows how to heal inside of them, and I help them reconnect with it.
So no drugs involved.
Well, so the psychedelic substances can be used as a fantastic tool, an incredible way to help you break out of those familiar patterns. So when we develop in a very specific environment and we get stuck in all of these negative patterns, these negative feedback loops, where we're suppressing our emotions and they come bursting out the seams, or we're expressing them in dysfunctional ways, or maybe we mistake compassion, connection, attachment with abuse. And so we're always stuck in these exact same patterns. If we try to step outside of that without knowing anything outside of it, it's like trying to identify a color that you're blind to. You can't see it, right? Try being compassionate to yourself when all that you've ever known is criticism, evaluation, judgment, and punishment. What does it look like to be kind to yourself?
It's
When
possible you don't know how to do it.
That's right. Yeah. It's like even when you start to get a glimpse of it, it's like trying to write a song on guitar, but you only know one strumming pattern and three open chords. Every variation of the song that you're going to write is going to sound exactly the same. So it's the same thing when you're trying to step outside of those default entrenched patterns that developed from your childhood. Is you don't know anything outside of it. And so you can find things, of course, on your own and through conversation and through reflection. You can find things through, understanding yourself and understanding others. And psychedelic substances are just fantastic tools. One, to show you very clearly things that are going on inside of you, but two, to show you what something new could look like, something that is not already something that's been there, something that you've experienced.
Wow. Sounds powerful. Oh, someone's banging at the door or something.
Yeah, there's some noise happening a few houses down from me.
All right. Um, so what I was about to say is I once heard that your brain without the psychedelic substances is like a hilltop covered in snow, and you've take the what's the name of this little thing that you use to slide through the sledge?
The lens, you said? Yeah.
No, the sledge, the thing that you use to slide on snow.
A thing that you use to shine light on the snow.
I don't know. So it's a little cart. It's like a little vehicle. I
Uh-huh.
forgot. Guys, I need to know. One second. Let me look on Google. I wanna sound.
You're talking a plow?
1 second.
Yeah.
I wanna sound smart. Train. So English. The Google translator is saying sled. It's called sled. All right.
Sled.
Is lead. So
Okay, gotcha.
what I once heard is like those psychedelic substances is like without them, you're like riding a sled on a hilltop with snow, but you're always taking the same paths because you already taken them before. So the path is already there. You just do it again and you keep doing it, you keep reinforcing those same paths. And apparently when you take the psychedelics, psychedelic substances, it's like it's snowing again. All of a sudden, there's snow all over again. It's covering all those paths. They're covering up. They're becoming like everything's becoming fluffy snow all over again. And all of a sudden, you have the choice of sliding with your sled in new paths, in new ways. And I was like, whoa, that's a great analogy. But I don't know anything about it. I want to ask you if that makes sense.
Yeah. I'd say that's pretty accurate.
Yeah.
When it's done right, when it's done properly. If you don't have the right preparation or the skills or tools established beforehand, that might not happen. In fact, it might exacerbate the patterns that are already there. Yeah, the analogy that I use is very similar. It's the default patterns that we have are like a river that's been flowing since the beginning of time. And the water flows quick and easy down that river. And what we're doing is we're digging out new channels for that water to flow. And the more and more attention that we put into those new channels and the more water that we push down it, the easier the water will flow through it. So when you think about like neurological connections, they strengthen, they get more solid and connected the more that you use them. It's the same thing. The more that we can create this new pattern and reinforce it and nurture it and continue to send energy down this new pattern, the deeper and easier it'll flow.
Wow, that's beautiful. I love when you take examples from nature. It just makes things so much easier to understand. I recently discovered, I think it's called Qui-Gon. No, man, one second. I'm gonna get the book. Hold on. Give me one second. There we go. Julian, have you heard about the I Ching?
Yeah.
Yeah, they have plenty of life lessons or analogies using nature. I was like, whoa, just makes everything so much easier.
Yeah, it's almost like we're a part of nature and it's a mirror to reflect into the inside of what we are. We can see a lot of ourselves in nature and we can see nature inside of ours. It's almost like it's a part of us.
Yeah, crazy, right?
Yeah. Almost like we come from nature and this strange idea that we're separate from it is a part of that disconnection from ourselves.
Yeah, we don't consider us animals at all. Like, of course we are, but we don't. It's crazy. I just watched this documentary about the ship that broke down near Mexico, and it happened like not long ago. I think 1 or 2 years ago, and all the passengers got stuck inside of the ship for a few days without electricity, without toilets, and like all of a suddenly they really went back to their default mode. They all became quote unquote animals again. They all became territorial. They became aggressive. They start hoarding their food because like they didn't know when they would go back to land. It was like, and throughout my mind, I was like the whole time, yeah, of course we're animals. We just, for some reason, we have this social construct. Like I don't know how it's called. We just don't like to think ourselves as animals nowadays because we have so much comfort. I would say we have developed so many social norms that differentiate us from the animals that we just forget about it.
Yeah. I mean, you remember when the pandemic and COVID started and here in the States, everybody went crazy over toilet paper.
In Germany as well.
Yeah, I mean, like they would sock you in the jaw over that last roll of toilet paper, and it's like you can't eat toilet paper. I don't know if you can eat toilet paper, and I wouldn't eat toilet paper. Like, why toilet paper out of all the food, water, important things? People went crazy over that, and it was because the news was just pumping it crazy. Buy toilet paper. It was like a programming that got sent out, and yeah, people went Mad Max style on on everybody over toilet paper.
Yeah. Oof. Hard times, man. It was yeah. I'd like to go back a little bit to the river analogy and ask you, how long does it take in order to quote unquote form a new river, let's say?
And you can form a new one right away.
What?
I mean, instantly. You can. I see people in just a few moments of conversation, from me asking the right questions and getting to the core of the pattern that had developed, and figuring out what unmet needs were underlying that pain when this originated. They can start to carve out a new path right away. And then you're going to spend the rest of your life reinforcing that new path and making little changes in the direction of it as you figure new things out and you understand what your new path looks like or what you want it to look like, or a new way of expressing yourself or a new way of being in tune with yourself. Yeah, you'll continue to adjust it. And that is, in my opinion, the point of life, is to continuously engage and participate and to enact some amount of agency and choice of awareness and responsibility for what you want to do. So it's constantly trying to figure out, how am I interacting with life and am I doing it in the ways that I truly want to?
Let's say someone who wants to stop smoking. How would they go
Mhm.
about immediately stop reinforcing the smoke and create this new river?
Yeah. And the first thing you want to do is get curious about your smoking. So if you're doing it constantly, what's your relationship with it? Right? Do you like it? Do you dislike it? What does it do for you? What does the smoking provide for you that you can't give it up? And if we can really understand what this behavior of smoking is trying to provide, what needs it's trying to meet, then what you can do is when you're smoking is you can try to meet those unmet needs in different ways. And so what you're going to do is try to be very kind and compassionate to yourself and understand that this is not some broken, terrible, shameful behavior that you have. It's actually some wisdom that's trying to support you or help you in some ways. And then what you want to do is try to meet those needs of why that smoking's there in more constructive, healthy ways based on choice.
I see. Wow. Man, it's powerful stuff. But like if you study it and if you go after it, it's changing, life-changing stuff.
Yeah, it's very achievable.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you need to want to do it first, right? Because like, I feel like a lot of people just, what are you talking about, bro? Like, let me smoke. I don't care. Like,
Yeah, no. Did you ever see The Matrix, the first one?
I, I was talking with a buddy of mine before we started. You kind of look a little bit like Neo.
You know how many times I've gotten that in my life?
I didn't want to
that's a
say.
that's a welcome compliment, by the way. Keanu is a fantastic person. But yeah, when Neo is learning about the Matrix and Morpheus tells him that the vast majority of people in the Matrix don't want to be unplugged from the Matrix.
Yeah.
They're dependent on it, and they will fight to defend this Matrix. Yeah, if somebody wants to smoke or they want to stay in that pattern, there's no way that somebody on the outside could ever get them to change that behavior, which is kind of what we oftentimes want to do with somebody who has an addiction is we want them to change. And, that just really reinforces the pain that they're experiencing to begin with. So on some levels, we really need to accept people as they are with the pain that they have and see those adaptations of addictions or whatever they are as it's serving a purpose for them. And, you can't wake somebody up who doesn't want to wake up. They have to want to do it themselves.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, Neo had to take the pill, and he had to make the choice of getting out of the Matrix. No one did the choice for him. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man, this movie is amazing. So you mentioned that it can go wrong though. If you take by psychedelics are powerful, right? And it can go wrong. Like, what do you mean
Very
by this?
powerful. Yeah. Yeah. When I first started working with other people in this area, what I was doing was going to local support groups here for people who were having very difficult experiences. And the themes were very common. In fact, they were the exact same themes that messed me up pretty bad when I first started working with them too, which is the psychedelic is very good at bringing things to our awareness and making it so you cannot get away from it. You can't not see what you've seen with the psychedelic. So what it's going to bring up is that pain that you're trying your hardest to avoid. And all of those patterns of avoiding the pain that is harming you. And it'll show you the short-term little relief that you're getting, but all the long-term consequences. So you start working with the psychedelic and all this pain starts coming to the surface. What do you do with it? Right? If you've spent your whole life avoiding that pain and distracting to get away from it, trying to suppress it, fighting it, exiling it, struggling to get away from it, and doing everything you can to stay away, working, being on the phone, whatever it is. And now you can't avoid it and you have to sit with it. And you're going to spend the next 4 or 5 hours trying to get away from it, saying, no, I don't want that. Go away. I don't like this. I don't like this. Go away. That's a very, very difficult experience. And then afterwards, you're left with knowing all of this terrible pain that lives inside of me, and I can't not see it. I can't get away from it. The distractions aren't working right now. So this is a recipe for re-traumatization or exacerbation of that pain that you're in. So beforehand, what we really have to do is take an inventory of that pain that's in there, and we have to go and start connecting with it on our own. And we have to build the capacity. We have to build the skills and tools to really sit with that pain, to accept that it's here, to recognize and identify it, and to relate and connect with it. And ultimately building a practice to start to soothe that pain. And then we can use the psychedelic as a tool to deepen that practice. And if you do it that way, it'll go a lot smoother for you. But if that baseline foundation's not in place, I mean, you might have a beautiful, wonderful time. It might be incredible. I've had them myself. I've seen it. You can roll the dice though.
I don't think that's very wise.
I don't recommend it.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so you're telling me that I should not just go to a rave, take some random stuff with people that I don't know, get a lot of booze, get drunk. I won't have a. You say that I'm not gonna cure my traumas. That's not gonna happen.
You know, I never tell anybody what they should or should not do. It's your life, man. You live it however you want,
Okay.
right? But yeah, I don't think that's a very good idea. And if you wanted my advice, I would highly advise against that.
I see. All right. So, when you say psychedelics, is there a psychedelic of choice, or they're all welcome?
So they all have their own characteristics. Now, we're talking psychedelic substances like things that grow naturally or things that are synthesized in a lab like LSD or ketamine, for instance. But you have so many that grow naturally like DMT, psilocybin mushrooms, ibogaine, peyote, mescaline. You have, your wachumas, all these different so many different types of plants that grow naturally that have psychedelic substances. You can get to that exact same experience because our bodies produce psychedelic substances like DMT, for instance. You can get to that exact same experience through other means like meditation, through sensory deprivation, through connection with nature, through extreme physical exertion. You can do a sun dance and push yourself to the brink of exhaustion and dehydration, and you'll have an incredible experience throughout all of that. Fasting, you go to the mountain for 40 days and 40 nights in isolation, and the heavens open and you hear the voice of God. There's
Wow.
so many ways to get to this exact same experience. And that is ultimately the goal, is to continuously get to that deep connection to yourself on your own. But the psychedelic substances, again, are fantastic tools to help you get there.
I see.
And they all have their own personalities and their characteristics to them. And what you have to do is you have to build a relationship with each one of these, with the one that, I'm not saying that you have to work with every one of them by any means, but to really get the therapeutic relationship going is you have to build that relationship. And so each one of them, like I said, they have their own personality characteristics. And it's a little bit about knowing those characteristics and making choices on which one you think is going to work best for you and for what your goals are. And then putting in the effort beforehand to really prepare yourself to work with it and to get in line with that. And then when you do it, you'll have a totally different experience.
I really get a sense that the psychedelics are really like a small part of it. They're very powerful, but they're just there as a tool to help you. But the most important part of the whole process is actually you preparing for it, accepting it, doing the work, and then maybe using the psychedelics to maybe achieve one step higher. Is that the case? That's the vibe that I'm getting.
Like I said, there's nobody or nothing that's going to come and save you. There's
Yeah.
no magic pill. There's no hero. There's no, knight in shining armor that's going to come and rescue you. You have to do it yourself. You have to be the person that you've been waiting for. You have to become your own hero. You have to become your own parent. You have to take care of your own pain. There's nobody who's going to be able to do that for you. It's not possible. And there are fantastic teachers and tools to help you along that journey all along the way. So there's people who can help you through it. And then there's, tokens or tools that will help you do it as well. And these are a fantastic tool to help you along the way.
Oh man, that's amazing to hear because I've heard of cases of people who just went to the Amazon. They're like, oh, I heard DMT will cure my life, and then I'm gonna level up and I'm gonna get enlightened. I'm gonna achieve nirvana, and that's it. They just go to the Amazons. They do the DMT thing, and then they have a bad trip. Whatever happens, they are not in a good mental state, and they regret it later. They say this was the worst time of my life, and I think it's touching a little bit on what you said. Like, you need to want to do that. There's no magic pill. You need to kind of do the work. Yeah. Yeah.
And they're destroying the cultures down there when they go and visit. They're
Oh,
bringing in all of their money, their currency, their customs, and they're inviting in all the corruption that comes along with that. And those very fragile indigenous cultures down in the Amazon are immensely impacted by the ayahuasca trade that's happening down there. Now, don't get me wrong, I've gone to the Amazon too. I've worked with the indigenous down there, and I've worked with ayahuasca myself, and it can be very powerful. It's an incredible, incredible medicine. But if you don't have those skills and tools in place, you know, good luck. It's not going to do it for you. You know, you might get revelations, you might understand things, you might get some relief, but it is not going to address the pain. You know, I'm sorry. People don't like to hear that. They like to think that if you take this psychedelic or you go into the Amazon and you work with ayahuasca, fixed, changed. You know, like you said, nirvana. I drink green tea now. I see rainbows and butterflies. Yeah, but you'll notice that that urge to still slap people is still there. So, yeah, you got to do the work yourself.
Yeah. But it's what we've talked already. Like we've talked about already. It's like people has this pop-up pill mentality. It's like you just go to the doctor, they're gonna prescribe you something, and then you're gonna be cured. And now they're hearing that maybe psychedelics can help with whatever they're going on in their lives. It's like just gonna go there, take the psychedelic, and gonna cure myself. So it's not like that, folks. That's not how it
That's
works.
right. You know, just about every person I've ever worked with comes in with that idea too.
Yeah.
And it takes quite a bit of us preparing before that idea starts to subside. It's just so deeply entrenched. It's all through our society right now. You see all the news headlines, you know, FDA labels MDMA a breakthrough drug and all this kind of stuff. And it's like, I see why people have that idea. I once held that idea. You know, I thought that this was the key to unlock the doors, and in lots of ways it is, but it is not going to do the work for you. And so when I start working with people, you know, we start taking that inventory of the pain and we start relating and connecting with it. Usually, people see very quickly that they got to do the work themselves.
Mm, mm. It was very interesting that you mentioned the fact that the body produces DMT. I was like, what? Like, how come? So could you explain that a little bit? Why our bodies would produce DMT? It's fascinating.
Yeah, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a great mystery. Um,
Wow.
You know, there's been lots of studies around this. Rick Strassman out here in Albuquerque has been doing studies all throughout the 90s and early 2000s. DMT, the spirit molecule, was written off of that. They did the documentary on it as well. It's a great mystery on where it's produced. They think it's in the lung. They thought it was in the pineal gland. We don't really understand why it's there, but it is there. And we have hormones in our bodies that shut it off. We have a monoamine oxidase inhibitor that turns it off. But in some people, and there's this really wonderful book called Supernatural. This guy Graham Hancock, fantastic writer, author, he's done incredible work in so many areas around ancient civilizations and the origins of humans. He wrote this book Supernatural, and he's looking at these psychedelic experiences. And what he's suggesting through the research is that humans, a small percentage of humans, their monoamine oxidase inhibitor is fairly limited. So they have more DMT production in their bodies, and they're having these psychedelic experiences. And if you look throughout history, you can find these types of prophets, these types of visionaries, the Joan of Arcs, right? These people who were deeply in tune with some sort of wisdom that was happening in the world around them and experiencing that. I mean, today we just call them schizophrenic and medicate them.
Really?
Yeah. I'm
Whoa.
not saying I'm not, you know, there are definitely cases of schizophrenia out there, but again, you know, we have to really wonder how much of it is this production, you know, in terms of visionary states, dream states, near death experiences. All of these are in tune with that exact same production there.
It's even sound a little bit spiritual of that, right? Would you say there's, in your opinion, like I think it's hard to know for sure, but in your opinion, let's say we're speculating here, is there any connection to the spiritual realm, any of this?
You can't separate them. Um, Rick Strassman, when he did the DMT studies, he wrote the book and he called it DMT, the spirit molecule. An interesting paradox where physical matter and the spirit world meet. Yeah, this is one of the gateways. I mean, it's very uncommon for people to have a psychedelic experience without characterizing some amount of it as spiritual in some way.
Wow, that's cool. I'm not gonna lie. Um, I was thinking the other day because I heard that before, right? Like your brain produced DMT, and that's just like a completely assumption. Like I'm not. It's just me speculating, right? It's not based on anything. It might be related to our brain or our body trying to protect ourselves from pain when we die, right? Because everything that we have has an evolutionary explanation, or that's at least that's how the way I see things. And if your body produces DMT, maybe when we're starving, like what's the correct term, when we're not eating for a long time, or when we have near death experiences, like those are like you're almost dying, your brain is trying to maybe releasing DMT to maybe already connect yourself to the other realm, prepare yourself for the next realm, and
Yeah.
easy it make the death process a little bit easier. So that's why maybe the brain releases DMT. I don't know if that makes sense. I'm completely speculating out based on nothing here.
No, no, no. I agree with you there in lots of ways.
Yeah.
Or perhaps it facilitates that
Yeah.
transition. Graham Hancock, who I was just talking about, he has this really interesting philosophy in terms of consciousness. So this idea is that in mainstream academia, the mainstream thought is that the brain generates consciousness. Our awareness comes from it's being generated by the brain. And the justification behind that is, well, if the brain gets damaged, then your consciousness gets damaged. So it's like a television set. You damage the television, the picture gets damaged. But that doesn't change the signal that's coming to the television that the picture is displaying. So another way of looking at consciousness is that the brain doesn't generate it, but it actually receives consciousness. It's a receiver of it. And you can turn the channel, so to speak, on which lens of reality you're going to tune into. And psychedelics are a great way to turn that channel on your perception. Now, this goes even deeper in terms of like quantum theory, multiverse theory type of thing, where they're suggesting, I think it was in Michio Kaku's book, Parallel Worlds, where he's talking about this idea of multiple dimensions of reality overlapping on top of one another. I'll try and explain it as best I can, which is that the theories of gravity really hold up, the equations of gravity hold up when you look outward into the universe. So the further you go out there, all of the equations of gravity hold up almost perfectly. But when you start going down in size, when you start getting into the quantum realms, the Planck scales, these theories of gravity actually fall apart. And so the way that they're explaining this is that that's because there's different dimensions of reality that are overlapping each other right on top of one another. And if that's the case, then wouldn't it make sense that we could turn the channel to which one of those we turn into? And so when this DMT production is happening in our bodies, whether it's through death or through experiences that we have throughout life, wouldn't it make sense that we can tune into some of those other dimensions? And if there's dimensions of reality that are overlapping on top of one another, wouldn't it make sense that there's some sort of intelligence involved in those that we can't perceive in our normal day in life, that our senses are completely blind to otherwise, unless we turn that channel? Because when people have these psychedelic experiences, very frequently they have these supernatural style interactions with some sort of intelligence that is unexplained by our dimensions and our laws of reality here. So wouldn't it make sense that you can tune into those and interact with intelligences that are over there?
Whoa, that's so fascinating. Man, that's again like and if someone comes and just say that you're wrong, you don't know what you're talking about. Like I would reply, do you know what what you are talking about? Like you don't. No one knows. Like we're like 0.004% old compared to the history of planet Earth. We're nothing. Like we haven't explored nothing. There's so much to learn, and I'm man, I love speculating, talking about it. I feel like there's gonna be so many discoveries in our lifetime still. Like
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Nikola Tesla said famously that when humans stop investigating the material and they start investigating the immaterial, the energetic aspects, the spiritual aspects, so on, that we'll make more discoveries in 10 years than we've made over the last 1,000 years. And yeah, I think that when I hear all these physics debates and things like that, and we're looking outward into the universe, that's great. It's fantastic. But what about looking to our inner universe and figuring out ways to explore these different dimensions of consciousness that are there? This inner world is vastly, I mean, there are maps on how to chart it and to explore it, but the vast majority of it is unexplored. We know very little of who we are and the world that we live in.
That's fascinating and exciting. Wow. Julian, thank you so much. Man, it was a pleasure. I really enjoyed talking to you. I'd like to ask you, do you have any links, any website that you'd like to share?
Yeah, my website is psychedelic-integration.net. We have lots of good resources on there about things that we're talking about here, and I make myself available. So if anybody wants some support, one of the hallmarks of trauma is that disconnection. And through that, we develop beliefs about ourselves, whether it's I'm not good enough, I'm unworthy, I'm not deserving. And a flip side of that, I'm not deserving, is also I have to be strong and independent and do everything on my own. So this is just a reminder that if you're somebody who's going through this pain and you're trying to transform it, you don't have to do it alone. You are responsible for doing it and you're the only person who can do it, but you don't have to go through that alone. And so, yeah, I make myself available to help people out like that. And you can contact me through my website, or Instagram's a good place to follow what we do here too.
Beautiful. Any final remarks?
I would just like to say to anybody that's listening that, if you're dealing with any of the pain that we talked about, the beliefs, the addictions, or anything like that, there's nothing wrong with you. There's nothing inherently wrong. You're not a broken person. You're not damaged goods. Each one of those behaviors serves a very specific purpose, and you have adapted to your environment in ways that were useful or helped you or even saved you at one point. And you don't have to keep doing that. You can really cultivate the agency and the compassion to make choices for yourself and to take responsibility for those patterns. And again, you don't have to do it alone.
Beautiful. Thanks so much, Julian.
Yeah, bro. Really good talking to you.
All right, everyone, don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment to participate in our this month's giveaway. Stay tuned. Bye-bye, everyone. Thank you so much for hanging out with us today. If it's your first time watching the show, make sure to like and subscribe. If you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, please rank the show 5 stars. This will ensure that the podcast is recommended to even more people and allow me to keep doing what I love. Check out now the BRUCAST store, Explore store, filled with awesome goodies from hoodies to t-shirts to mugs. We've got you covered. Stay in style with BRUCAST. Embrace the shock, set the trend. Buy now at brew-cast.com/store. Again, that's brew-cast.com/store. Link on the description below. Be a BRUCAST model and get free stuff. We'd love to see how you and your loved ones enjoy BRUCAST. Snap a picture of yourself, your family, your friends, or even your pets wearing BRUCAST merch, or watching an episode of the show, and send it to us and become part of BRUCAST. We'll feature you and your pictures at the end of every episode, just like the ones you're seeing on the screen right now. You can upload your pictures at brew-cast.com/contact or tag us on social media. Alright everyone, it has been a pleasure. Thank you so much and see you next time. Bye bye.